This wasn't just a crime scene, was it?
No, it was not. This one was bad. Two innocent people that were on their first date had their lives destroyed. For what reason?
How well did Leslie Reeves know Chris Smith?
First date. Chris was in a band and a singer, and they had connected, and he asked her out.
The night before Thanksgiving, they decided just to meet up and go to the bar.
He lived 65 miles away in a really small farming community.
The bar that night was very busy. The place was packed wall to wall. Chris and Leslie were talking a lot, laughing, getting along with everyone around them.
She texted me around 10 and she said everything's going okay. She did then text a second text that said, I feel like something's a little bit off or something. I'm not sure what she meant.
Was that text the last time you heard from Leslie Reeves?
Yes, it was.
Did you try texting her in the morning? And did she respond?
No. I just started driving towards Farmersville because I had the address and called the police department in that area.
Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, this is Jeff.
Hi, I'm greatly concerned about my friend. Can someone do a welfare check?
What are you feeling at this point, Nanette?
A lot of anxiety because I don't know what I'm going to walk into going up there to this house. I pulled up in front of the address.
And then who came while you're sitting there?
While I'm sitting there, who's this woman parked? I said, well, maybe I'll roll my window down and talk to her.
I asked her if she was checking on Chris, and she said she was checking on her friend. And that's when I went up to the door. I saw the back door was broken, and then I saw Chris laying there. And then I ran back to my car and called 911.
Nobody's answering the door, and the back window's shattered, and there's a body, and there's a foot I saw on the floor. I'm only 16. I can't deal with this.
I was in shock, I think.
Sheriff's Office, Jeff.
Jeff, give me some help. I got one alive and one dead.
I just remember them bringing Chris out on the stretcher to the ambulance. I remember there being a sheet over him, so it made me panic a little bit.
I got a call from our command center in Springfield.
So you are the lead crime scene investigator?
Yes.
Were you really prepared for what you faced when you walked into that house?
I was not.
Why would somebody do this to him? Why would they try to hurt my baby? That's all I kept thinking. He's my baby. Someone hurt him.
Going on a first date and they both end up getting shot is insane.
On the afternoon of Thanksgiving Day 2021, Nanette Stiber sat in her car and watched anxiously as EMTs and Montgomery County Sheriff's deputies descended on a house in the tiny village of Farmersville, Illinois.
I was quite upset and kind of going crazy in the car.
Nanette had been unable to reach her good friend Leslie Reeves. Nanette knew Leslie had gone to that house the night before to go on a first date with Chris Smith, a man she had met online.
She was very excited. She thought, oh, this might be a really good connection.
But now Nanette was worried. She'd seen Chris get taken away in an ambulance, but there was no sign of Leslie.
I kept hoping, okay, bring Leslie out, please.
Finally, a detective approached and asked Nanette for a photo of Leslie. She showed him her phone, and he gave her the horrible news.
I'm so sorry to have to tell you this. Your friend has been murdered, shot, he said. He didn't tell me where, but he did say, I want you to know that she went very quickly.
EMTs had found Chris barely conscious and unable to say anything about the shooting. They rushed him to the hospital, and deputies searched the house. Later that day, crime scene investigator Josh Easton of the Illinois State Police was called to the scene, and he began cataloging the mayhem inside. What do you see when you first approach the door?
I noticed the side door of the house, the glass in the door has been broken out. The refrigerator was pulled away from the wall. The kitchen table was pushed, the chairs were knocked over.
No weapon was found, leading investigators to suspect that a third person was involved. Easton took note of every detail, including the burnt pizza in the oven.
I assumed that maybe they were cooking a pizza for the night, and the suspect shows up at the door. They both tried to fight him off, and when Chris was shot, Leslie went to the living room to try to hide.
How many times was she shot?
She was only shot one time.
In the head?
In the head.
Leslie's body was in the living room, while Chris had been found in the kitchen. Easton said of the 1,800 crime scenes he had been to, this was one of the most horrific.
There was blood everywhere. The cabinets, the refrigerator, the countertop, there was blood from corner to corner in the kitchen.
Easton spotted 2 silver-colored bullet casings from a 9mm gun, one in the kitchen and the other near Leslie's body. As Easton processed the scene, detectives began learning about the victims. Chris Smith was a 48-year-old divorced father who worked for a pool contractor.
Chris was a nice guy. He would hang out here frequently, was friends with most people in town. Everybody knew him.
Bartender Dina LeGrand says Chris was well known in town as the guy who grew banana trees and giant pumpkins.
I remember one Halloween, he donated hundreds of pumpkins for decorations for any of the kids to paint. He gave back to his community.
Did either one of you ever worry about Chris?
No.
No.
Sharon Costanza is Chris's mother, Ashley Holcomb, his sister.
Chris is a stay-home person that literally would just work in his backyard.
Chris lived with a dog named Tiki, and an EMT told the family that Tiki may have helped Chris make it through the night by huddling with him for the roughly 12 hours that Chris was bleeding before being rescued.
I think Tiki protected Chris. I think she probably laid right next to him.
Chris's close-knit family could not imagine anyone wanting to kill him.
It was like, no way, how, why, like...
Who? Yeah, who would have done that?
Investigators had the same questions about Leslie and learned that she was a divorced mother of 2 children who lived in Troy, about an hour south of Farmersville. Although Leslie had a master's degree in engineering, she chose instead to teach Pilates and to promote self-defense classes for women.
Hi, I'm Leslie from All You Studio, and
Leslie posted this video to her YouTube channel to advertise one of her classes.
Empower yourself against aggression and assault as we teach you easy-to-learn self-defense techniques. Power up!
Leslie tried to help women in abusive relationships, but friends say she had her own troubles. Nanette told deputies she was worried about a former boyfriend, a contractor by the name of Robert Tarr, known as Bobby.
She said, I am going to completely block Bobby from email, texts, phone calls. I have to go no contact.
Later that evening, news of Leslie's murder began circulating and reached another close friend, Amy Steinhauer. She had met Tar, a divorced father of 3, and did not have a good impression of him. But
you never see someone and think that they can kill my friend.
Amy called the sheriff's office that night to give them Tar's name. By then, detectives had already set out to find Bobby Tar, while 85 miles to the north, surgeons were fighting to try to save the life of Chris Smith, a bullet still lodged in his brain.
I just wanted to get there. I just wanted to get there as fast as I could.
After learning that Chris had been shot in the head, his family rushed to the hospital in Springfield, Illinois, 2 hours from their home.
I was on the phone to everyone I could think of because I just needed prayers from everybody.
Doctors removed part of Chris's skull and some bullet fragments in his brain before putting him in a medically induced coma. His family, struggling to piece together what had happened, learned that he had been out with a woman named Leslie Reeves.
Had you ever heard the name Leslie Reeves before?
No. I looked her up, and then I tried to reach out to her friends, and then I found her best friend, Nanette.
Nanette told them the same thing she had told investigators. She suspected Leslie's ex-boyfriend, Bobby Tar. That night, sheriff's deputies went to Tar's home in Collinsville, an hour south of the crime scene. Authorities say he never asked why they wanted to talk to him, and he agreed to go to the police station without a lawyer.
T-A-R-R, correct? Mm-hmm.
Although her friend said the couple had broken up, Tar told investigators that he and Leslie were still together.
You and Leslie have a lot of problems? I wouldn't say no worse than any average couple.
It was Leslie that detectives wanted to talk about.
I want you to dig down deep here and be as honest with me as you can, okay? Leslie is dead. What? Can you help me shed some light on this? How did she die? She was murdered. What happened? That's why we're here with you. You help me believe that you're not involved in this. I'm not involved in anything.
Investigators asked Tar about Farmersville, the scene of the crime.
You know where Farmersville is? Farmersville. No, I can't say that I do. I've never been there. I've never heard of it.
And they asked Tar where he had been the night before Thanksgiving.
I went to a buddy of mine's house. He left and left me some money out of his shop, and I had to go pick it up.
The friend lived a short distance from Tar's home.
Remember what time he came back? Yeah, it wasn't that long. Maybe 6:30ish, something like that.
Investigators believe the shooting took place sometime early on Thanksgiving morning after 1 a.m. Tar said after he got back, he was home all night.
You can talk to my daughter about me being home.
That's exactly what they did. Detectives brought Tar's 17-year-old daughter, Shelby, to a different room at the police station, and she told them that her father actually left home twice that night.
So the first time he left was roughly 6:30.
Right.
And then he came home about a half hour later, and I said he had to go back.
Right.
And then it was 9:15-ish when he got back home.
Yeah.
Shelby said he had been gone for more than 2 hours, and when he got home, he was upset.
He gets home, he was crying, he was sobbing. He said he missed Leslie.
Shelby said she went to sleep around 9:30 and was awakened by her father around 2:45 a.m.
He started laundry, he was pacing, walking around, and he was like, I can't sleep.
Detectives went back to Tar and told him Shelby's story did not match his. Tar then changed his story and said he had gone to his friend's house twice, but still insisted he was home by 8. As Tar sat at the police station, detectives searched his house and found his phone and a Glock pistol. Shelby had told them her father had a different gun, but they didn't find it.
It's little, it's like this big. I look at my green, look at the army green.
Shelby told investigators she had seen it the day before Thanksgiving in her father's sock drawer.
Yesterday morning, actually, I went to get socks and it was there. And now it's not there.
Was there yesterday, gone today?
Bobby Tar sat at the police station overnight while authorities continued to investigate. They had already learned that his car had been captured by license plate reader cameras just after midnight, the night of the shooting. The cameras were near a gas station, and investigators discovered that Tar had bought gas there just after midnight. Back at the police station, they confronted him with the gas station receipt.
So you're a liar. Because I don't remember doing that. You don't remember being out after midnight when you have told us you are 100% positive.
The gas station is here in Troy.
Yes.
And the murder occurred here in Farmersville.
Correct.
The gas station was near Tar's home, an hour from the crime scene. Andrew Affronti is the Montgomery County State's attorney. He has dystonia, a condition that causes muscle tics and tremors.
So why is it significant? So he went out and got some gas.
It was significant to us because why would he lie about it?
So I got fuel. What does that prove?
Investigators believed it was proof Tar was lying about his whereabouts that night. They placed him under arrest.
You're under arrest for murder.
Affronti says they arrested Tar immediately because they feared Chris's life was in danger, and they hadn't found the murder weapon.
If he was out of custody, could he take further steps to dispose of the evidence?
Just one day after Leslie Reeves was killed and Chris Smith was left fighting for his life, investigators believed they had the man responsible in custody.
I'm Erin Moriarty.
Bobby Tar.
But in his only media interview, Bobby Tar tells 48 Hours they got the wrong guy.
There is so many things untold that will prove my innocence.
Bobby Tar, charged with the murder of Leslie Reeves and the attempted murder of Chris Smith, is nothing if not unflappable.
Did you kill Leslie Reeves?
No.
Did you shoot Chris Smith?
No.
He kept his cool even when confronted with a litany of lies he told investigators.
You told the police you only left the house once. That wasn't true.
Correct.
You told the police you had no idea where Farmersville is. That was a lie. You lied about getting gas in your car that night.
When he spoke with us, Tar admitted he was at Chris Smith's house the night before Thanksgiving, placing himself at the scene of the crime. He says the night began when he met Leslie at her part-time job at this loft store.
She had said she was going to go meet some friends because one of their friends was playing in a band. She asked me if I wanted to go. And I said, well, you know, I would go, but I have my youngest daughter staying with me for a week.
Tar says that when he declined the invitation, Leslie asked if he would follow her to Farmersville because her van was unreliable, and so he did. That makes no sense to Leslie's friend, Amy Steinhauer.
She was terrified of him. And rightfully so.
Just a few weeks earlier, Amy says, Leslie told her that Tar had shown up while she was on a first date with a different guy. After that incident, Leslie told Amy she was frightened by Tar and texted Amy, "I could be killed by him someday if I don't cut all contact."
So you're telling me now that this woman who was scared of you, who had actually texted a friend that she thought you might kill her, asked you to follow her to another man's house?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense?
No, I understand. So I don't understand that text in general.
Why did she think you might kill her?
I don't know. I've got no clue.
Tar says Leslie lied to her friends about their relationship. He insists she asked him to follow her north to Farmersville.
So I went with her up there. I think we arrived there around 7:30. I parked in front of her van in front of his house. That's as far as I went. I left. I never went back to Farmersville again.
If he had an innocent explanation for why he was in Farmersville, why did he lie to detectives?
My daughter, her and Leslie, there was a little bit of tension between both them. I did not want her to know that I was going to meet Leslie that night.
Tar claims that after he lied to his daughter Shelby about seeing Leslie, he stuck to that lie at the police station because he was afraid they would tell her. And he never corrected those lies, even when detectives arrested him.
Why not just say, look, between you and me, I lied to my daughter, so let me tell you the truth, but let's just not share that with her. Why wouldn't you do that?
I should have done that.
He's quick to point out the lack of physical evidence connecting him to the bloody crime scene. Investigators searched his white Jetta, but did not find any shards of glass or bloodstains.
2 tests by the state police were done on my car. 0 blood found in my car. There's 0 DNA of mine at the crime scene, anything from the crime scene in my car or on me or any of my clothing or my shoes. 0.
Prosecutor Affronti has to concede that point.
Was any of Tar's DNA found inside the house?
No.
Were any of his fingerprints found inside the house?
No.
And authorities still had not found the murder weapon. But a week after the shooting, they got a phone call from Tar's friend Billy Adams. Adams said Tar had called him from jail. That call was recorded.
What's your day look like today? Because I need 10 minutes of your time.
Tar asked Adams to go to his house and look for some deck brackets.
I got some special aluminum brackets and that I need you to get because they're for another job that I didn't tell Dad about yet. So don't say nothing to him.
Instead, Adams contacted the sheriff's office. Deputies suspected Tar knew the phone call was being recorded and was speaking to his friend in code about something other than deck brackets.
They're aluminum? Yeah, get them and get rid of them.
They thought that was suspicious, which was why they went over and searched.
Investigators were on their hands and knees in Tar's yard looking for a gun. Dan Foltz is Tar's defense attorney.
They searched that area thoroughly. No gun. You know what they did find? Deck brackets.
A few days later, they got another phone call, this time from Tar's brother, asking them to come back to the house. Tar's family gave deputies a Ziploc bag they said they had found in the same yard that had been searched just days earlier. Inside, a Springfield Hellcat 9mm pistol and silver-colored ammunition. The Illinois State Police determined the gun was the murder weapon, and the ammunition matched the casings found at the crime scene.
We still to this day don't know how that ended up there, specifically in the spot that they searched.
Are you saying you were set up? Someone was framing you?
Yes.
But if someone was framing Tar, he or she would have to be pretty detail-oriented. The state police say Tar's fingerprint was on the Ziploc bag.
He is adamant that he would not have been dumb enough that he would have carried it all the way back to his home and said, where would I put this gun on my 1-acre lot? I think I'll put it next to the front door.
And Tar points out neither his prints nor DNA were found on the gun itself.
Nothing on the firearm, no DNA, no prints of mine on the firearm.
What I think what happened is that the gun was cleaned, and that Mr. Tarr just missed a spot.
That spot was Leslie's DNA, say police, found on the guide rod of the gun. Tarr's explanation? The gun wasn't his, it belonged to Leslie.
I purchased the Hellcat, and Leslie purchased it from me.
As investigators continued to build a case against Bobby Tarr, they say he was hatching a plan to silence the only eyewitness.
Did you ask a inmate to shoot Chris Smith?
Leslie accompanied me here on several occasions.
If there's anyone who knew what guns Leslie Reeves owned, it's Howard Bolton, her close friend and firearm instructor.
When I would hold classes, she would actually shoot with us. Leslie was becoming a very good shot.
Bolton says Leslie had organized a class called Girls with Guns not long before she was murdered.
We put the girls through their paces. They would move and fire. They would go forward and fire. They would come back and fire. And Leslie did very, very well at that.
Bobby Tarr insisted to us that Leslie owned the Hellcat that was used to kill her. But Howard says he never saw her use it.
Leslie never brought a Springfield, let alone a Hellcat, to class.
So then, how did Leslie's DNA get on the guide rod of the murder weapon? Howard believes that Leslie's DNA could only be on that guide rod if the gun was fired at her at close range.
So when he shot her, wherever it was he shot her, would have contaminated that part of the gun.
In fact, Howard says Leslie owned a different gun. Her friends say they wish she had taken it with her the night she was killed.
Had Leslie taken the gun with her, I assure you the outcome would have been different.
Tarr declared his innocence, but the case against him could hinge on what Chris Smith, the only survivor, remembers. Would he be able to identify him? That was the question as Chris remained in a coma.
We were talking to him, singing to him, and I was always holding his hand.
While Chris Smith lay helpless, authorities say Tarr was plotting to silence him forever. A grand jury indicted Tarr on 2 counts of solicitation of murder. Those charges are based on allegations by an inmate who says Tarr paid him $10,000 to shoot and kill the lead detective and Chris.
Did you ask a inmate to shoot Chris Smith?
No, ma'am.
And to kill Detective Roach?
No, ma'am.
Tarr says the alleged plot was a lie concocted by a former cellmate. Tarr says he loaned that cellmate $10,000 for his bond and that it had nothing to do with Chris Smith.
Were you worried he was going to testify and point to you as the shooter?
No, I was not worried one iota.
The truth was that no one knew what Chris Smith remembered. The first time he regained consciousness was in early January 2022, about 2 months after the shooting.
Like egg foo young.
Egg foo young?
Chris's voice was so weak in those early days
It's already done over there.
that his old friend Mark Reardon, a talk show host in St. Louis,
522, 97.1 FM Talk. Mac Bradley.
barely recognized Chris on the phone.
I could not believe that I was hearing from this guy. And I cried, he cried. Just talking about that moment really brings me chills because I just thought he was never going to be someone that was in my life ever again.
What did Chris tell you?
Well, when Chris came out of this, I was pretty sensitive to ask him about what had happened that night because I think I was a little afraid of even having those conversations. So most of the conversations that we had were really focused on, hey, how are you? Are you going to be okay?
After intense physical therapy, he's made incredible strides. He's much stronger than when he awoke from a coma, but he discovered there are gaps in his memory. What does he remember from that terrible night?
I wish to God I could remember something. I mean, even just a smidgen of something, but I remember nothing.
He remembers nothing of the shooting or Leslie Reeves.
I said, who the heck's Leslie? I don't know Leslie.
You had no idea?
No, nothing.
Nothing?
No, nothing.
Is Chris the same person who used to come on your show before he was shot?
Yeah, I think at the core, he's still the same guy that I knew. He's still the smartass. He's still the guy that's going to talk about how good he is and how good he was and how much he could lift weights.
Chris works out at the gym most mornings, trying to regain muscle so that someday he'll be able to walk without assistance. He's even back to being the lead singer in his rock and roll band.
I don't know how he did make it. I don't understand how he did. He's a miracle.
But Chris is aware his life is very different from what it once was.
So I'm half the man I used to be, but I'm trying to get it back as hard as I can. And then my left leg is partially paralyzed from my hip to my knee, then from my knee to my toes, completely paralyzed. So if there's any neurosurgeons out there, any researchers out there, please get a hold of me. I'll be your guinea pig. Just make me normal and give me my life back, please.
It's tough, isn't it, Chris?
Tough doesn't even describe it. Doesn't even describe it.
Chris is resigned to living with part of that hollow point bullet in his brain. Doctors say it's in a spot that makes it too dangerous to remove.
So that's where you got shot?
Yep, right here. Yep, you still feel it in my skull. Right there.
After decades on his own, Chris had to move back into his mother's house.
I thank my blessings daily that he's here with us. I just wish that this guy didn't take everything away from him.
Chris visits with his loyal dog, Tiki, but no longer lives with her. And he'd love to see his 12-year-old daughter more often, but he can't drive. And he's living in St. Louis, almost 2 hours away from his daughter and ex-wife.
I miss her. She was my little pea in the pod. I mean, we did everything together.
The trial of Robert Tarr was set for April 2024, but Chris would not be there. He told the prosecutor he was too angry to attend.
You didn't think you'd be able to just sit there?
Oh, no, no way. I know myself. There's no way, no.
But Chris's alleged shooter, Bobby Tarr, will be there. And he said he was eager to tell the jury that he's not a violent man.
But on this one night early morning, did you snap?
No. That's not my nature. I don't lose it and snap.
When Bobby Tarr went on trial in April 2024, prosecutors told the jury that he killed Leslie Reeves rather than allow her to live the life she wanted, a life without him.
Mr. Tarr couldn't deal with the fact that Leslie was seeing somebody else and he had to go and take care of it.
Andrew Affronti says Tarr secretly followed Leslie to Farmersville early that evening, and shortly afterwards, his phone began showing some interesting activity.
He had actually searched Chris Smith on his phone, had tried to find his Facebook profile.
Tarr headed home and texted his friend Billy Adams. I don't feel like she would drive that far for a party or go out with a girlfriend. I think it's for a dude. He also searched whether police could track his phone if he was using a VPN, a virtual private network.
He was researching to determine whether or not that would mask where his location was while he was using the phone.
Authorities say around midnight, Tarr left home, stopping at that gas station. And then, according to Affronti, surveillance videos and cell tower records show that Tarr drove back to Farmersville.
You believe he intended to kill both Chris and Leslie?
I 100% believe that he went up there with the intent to do serious harm to both of them.
With one victim dead and the other with no memory, it's difficult to say with certainty what happened, but the prosecution argued that sometime after 1 a.m., Bobby Tarr tried to enter through the back door of Chris Smith's house. Leslie and Chris tried to keep him out.
There was some kind of altercation or struggle, and that's when the glass was broken.
Crime scene investigator Josh Easton told the jury what he had observed inside the kitchen.
The refrigerator was pulled away from the wall where it appeared it normally was.
Prosecutors believe Leslie was trying to use the refrigerator to block the door. And based on where Chris was shot in his head, they think he was crouching down to help Leslie.
I think that while Chris was crouched down trying to hold the door shut, Bobby shot through the door and struck Chris.
With Chris incapacitated, Affronti says Leslie hid in the living room. Tarr tracked her down, shot, and killed her.
I strongly believe that he walked in and executed her.
Defense attorney Dan Foltz disputes all of that.
There is simply no evidence that that's what happened. There's no evidence that Leslie pushed the refrigerator. There's no fingerprints and blood on the refrigerator of Leslie's.
Foltz says evidence of a fight in the kitchen tells a different story.
The amount of blood in that kitchen was astonishing.
From looking at that crime scene, do you believe that Christopher Smith had to fight his assailant in the kitchen?
It would appear to me that there was some significant struggle in that kitchen between him and someone else.
And he says the assailant could not have been Bobby Tarr because he would have been covered in blood.
They did not identify a single piece of DNA in his car. They didn't identify a bloody fingerprint. They did not identify anything tying him to that crime scene.
But prosecutors argued the house wasn't bloody when Tarr left. They said Chris bled heavily in the 12 hours it took for help to arrive. And while the prosecution did not have a lot of forensic evidence linking Tarr to the crime scene, Affronti says his phone activity, his lies to investigators, and the evidence found on the Hellcat all prove his guilt.
When you put all of that together, that's when you get the clear picture of what happened.
When it was the defense's turn, Tarr says he wanted to tell his story to the jury, but he chose not to testify.
Why didn't you just decide you were going to talk to the jury and tell this story if, in fact, you have a story to tell?
I should have. I very well should have.
We made a strategic decision because it may have opened the door for a whole lot of other more damaging evidence to be used to cross-examine him.
The defense didn't put on any witnesses and counted on the jury to find reasonable doubt in the lack of physical evidence. After 3 hours, the jury found Bobby Tarr guilty of first-degree murder and attempted murder.
Everyone clapped. And Bobby just sat there, shaking his head.
2 months later, Tarr was back in court for sentencing. And this time, so was Chris, to tell the judge how the shooting impacted him and his family. Cameras were not allowed in the courtroom.
Lost my house, lost my truck. I've literally lost my life without being killed.
Tarr also spoke and denied shooting Leslie and Chris. The judge sentenced him to 85 years.
I hope the rest of his time on this earth is hell.
Leslie Reeves' friends are focused on keeping her memory alive.
She was a light of a lot of people's lives. She was always smiling. She was a very good mother, lived for her kids, and was an advocate and champion of women, women's rights, and especially women that were abused.
If it can happen to her, it could happen to anyone, so we all need to be careful.
Chris Smith says he never expected he'd be a victim of domestic violence and cautions other men to take a hard look at their behavior.
If guys, you feel like that, you want to hurt a woman, get help.
While Chris mourns his old life, he's writing a book about his experiences and says he's working to make what he calls poor man's margaritas out of the lemons and limes he's been handed.
I've got a do-over. Good Lord, give me a do-over. Not many people get a second chance in life.
Chris has found love with Michelle Albrecht.
She's an angel, loving me and accepting me the way that I am.
He proposed to her on stage.
I just asked her if she married me, guys.
What's the most important lesson out of all of this?
Don't ever give up on anything, ever, no matter how bad things are. Don't ever give up.
The search for her killer went cold.
Investigators took DNA evidence. They could not find who it belonged to.
Can a clue from the past,
I could see a footprint in blood,
solve the crime?
These belong to the killer.
The footprints defined the path of this case.
48 Hours is all new. CBS Next and streaming on Paramount Plus.
If I can come back from a deathbed and survive this and defy medical odds and create medical history or rewrite medical history, anybody can come back and achieve anything in life, no matter how bleak things look in life. There's always the sun rising on the other side.
If you are seeking inspiration, look no further than Chris Smith. His is a story of resilience and recovery. Back in November of 2021, Chris was on a first date with a woman named Leslie Reeves. Now, they had gone back to his house when Leslie's ex-boyfriend, Bobby Tarr, forced his way inside and shot them both. Leslie died, but Chris miraculously survived a bullet wound to his head. He lay comatose in the hospital for several weeks before waking up, and when he did, he had no memory of what happened that night. So how did Chris defy the medical odds and survive the unthinkable? I'm Natalie Morales at 48 Hours, and this is It Could Have Been Me. You're going to be hearing from Chris in just a few minutes. But first, I would like to introduce producer Paul LaRosa. He knows this case well. He worked on this story for an episode of 48 Hours with correspondent Erin Moriarty. Paul, so good to have you join us today on what is such an incredible story of survival and real grit.
Great to be here because Chris is one of the most interesting and resilient people I've ever met.
I know he really touched you and had an impact on our entire 48 Hours team. Walk me through, Paul, what happened on that night, November 24th, 2021.
Right. So it was the day before Thanksgiving, the evening before Thanksgiving. And Chris and Leslie had met on Facebook, as people do these days. They never met in person before this night, but they had texted with each other. They had spoken on the phone to each other, and they were simpatico in a number of ways, mostly because they were really into physical fitness. And Leslie ran a Pilates studio, yoga studio. She taught women self-defense, and Chris was in the best shape of his life when this shooting happened. But anyway, the night before Thanksgiving is traditionally a night when people go out drinking, and that's exactly what they did. Chris said, why don't you come up to Farmersville, which was about an hour from where Leslie lived. And she was in Troy, Illinois. They both had kids. And Leslie's kids were with her ex that evening, and same with Chris. So they were without their children. And Chris had a big house, and he told Leslie, you can sleep in one of the bedrooms if we go out drinking too much, whatever. And that was the plan. She told her girlfriends where she was going to be. She gave them the address because, after all, she never met this guy. But they went out drinking to a place called the Uptown Saloon, and then they went to a second bar. Everything was hunky-dory. Then they went to Chris's nearby house.
Yeah, Paul, because I understand at some point, Leslie's ex-boyfriend, Bobby Tarr, he started to follow them and showed up at Chris's house, right?
Right. No one knows what really happened except Bobby Tarr, who was convicted of the crime, because Leslie is dead, and Chris remembers nothing from that night. So it's difficult for investigators to know exactly what happened. But what the evidence reveals happened is Bobby Tarr tried to push his way in. Leslie spotted him through the glass side door. She moved a refrigerator, police believe, in front of the door to try to block him. He was able to maneuver the door part of the way open. Chris was crouched down trying to push the door with his shoulder and his weight, and Bobby Tarr shot him in the head, according to police. Chris went down. Tarr walked in. Leslie ran into the living room, hid behind a Christmas tree, and according to the prosecutors, Bobby Tarr walked in, shot Leslie one time right in the top of the head.
I mean, it's so horrific. The timeline, I understand, is a little unclear as well, but we know it was sometime in the very early morning hours, though.
It was around 1 a.m. when this mayhem occurred, according to investigators. And Leslie and Chris's friends and family were concerned when they didn't hear from them the next morning. Now it's Thanksgiving morning. Both of them had plans to go to Thanksgiving dinner at, separate locations. And when the friends didn't hear from Leslie in particular, she had a bunch of girlfriends who knew she was dating, knew Bobby Tarr, knew that Bobby Tarr had stalked her before. Just a month before, Tarr had shown up at another first date that Leslie was having. They were concerned. They knew the address. In particular, a friend named Nanette Steiber decided, I can't raise her on the phone. I'm driving there. So she drove an hour up to Farmersville. On the way, she called the local sheriff's office. At the same time, a 16-year-old girl who knew Chris showed up at the scene. So this young girl named Brejon Smith, she walked over to the side door. She saw blood everywhere. She saw Chris on the floor. She immediately called 911, and we have a recording of that phone call.
Nobody's answering the door, and the back window's shattered, and there's a body, and there's blood on the stove, and there's a foot I saw on the floor.
Chris, however, was still alive, barely alive, which is truly miraculous.
Yes, and Farmersville being the small town it is, the first two medics who appeared were friends of Chris, and he knew them well. And, of course, they were, horrified themselves. Here's their buddy. And with Chris was his faithful dog, Tiki. Tiki is a female dog, very loyal to Chris. And Tiki huddled with Chris, according to people at the scene, and probably saved his life because the glass door was broken, so a lot of cold air was coming in. And this medic decided that he didn't want to wait for a helicopter to get there. He put Chris in the ambulance with another medic, and he drove like a bat out of hell to the hospital. Again, timing is everything. Probably helped to save Chris's life.
Mm-hmm. And let's take a listen now to what investigator Josh Easton said when he described the scene to you and to correspondent Erin Moriarty.
I was overwhelmed when I saw the kitchen.
What do you mean?
There was just so much blood, and it was everywhere. There was not a spot on the kitchen floor that didn't have blood on it.
And what does that say to you?
That I don't know what went on in there, but it was horrible for Chris. It was undescribable without you being there. I can't even make you understand how bad it was.
Josh Easton, who is with the Illinois State Police, it's his job to catalog all the evidence, go in, and sure enough, we talked about the blood, but in the middle of that, there were also two shell casings, one in the kitchen, one in the living room. There was no murder weapon. So that, of course, told them that someone else had to have been involved, a third person.
And we know, investigators were quickly able to identify a person of interest, Bobby Tarr, because the friends had already told them that Leslie had a stalker, and it was her ex-boyfriend, Bobby Tarr. How soon after then was he arrested, Paul?
Well, this investigation unfolded rapidly. They find his license, a registration, where he lives, and they put that license into the license plate readers up and down the highway. One of the hits was near a gas station. They went there. They found a receipt where he had paid for gas at a certain time that night. So they began sort of creating a timeline of his movements before they even spoke to him. They were able to later on get his cell phone records as well. Remember, this happened, the shooting, at 1 a.m. By 8 p.m. that evening, just hours later, they were going to Bobby Tarr's house and asking him if he would agree to be questioned. And he submitted to the interrogation. They put him under arrest at about, it was the next day, it was the morning after Thanksgiving.
And he was arraigned on those murder charges and attempted murder charges. To this day, though, he maintains his innocence.
That's right. He, Bobby Tarr likes to pretend to be what happened? Me? He likes to pretend that, he never did anything wrong.
Well, this episode, of course, is not about Bobby Tarr, but it is about the survivor himself, Chris Smith, and his remarkable recovery. You'll hear from Chris when we come back. So let's hear from Chris Smith himself. Chris, welcome. It is such an honor to meet you.
Thank you, and likewise.
Now, Chris and Paul, I understand you guys text each other weekly, right?
Yeah, I kind of know him. Yeah, I ask a lot of advice from him, actually.
Yeah, and Chris is a terrific guy, as you'll see.
And Chris, I know that you actually wrote a book about your survival and the incredible odds in your recovery.
Yes.
It's called My Fatal First Date, is now available for purchase. And you explain to the readers that your story really is a journey of blood, sweat, and tears. You've had to work really hard to get where you are today. Tell us about the injuries you sustained and where exactly the injury was, if you can point to it.
Well, actually, it's kind of hard with the earphones on, but the bullet went in about 5 inches above my ear, straight to the top of my head. And as Paul said, I'm sure you all have talked about, I don't remember anything of that night. I don't remember Leslie. I was told that we met on Facebook.
Which I find really interesting because they spoke on the phone and texted 2 weeks before the incident. But it's interesting how the brain works. It just excised Leslie out of his brain.
Now, see, I do remember some stuff, like I remember passing my neighbor's house on the drive home that afternoon. I remember some stuff from October. And then basically I want to say from the beginning of November on to the shooting, I don't remember much, if that makes any sense. So it's like my brain cut out the whole month. Go figure. I don't know. It's very odd.
I mean, when you talk about where you were shot and how long you were in your kitchen and on the kitchen floor and were able to survive with blood and everything all around you. I know they had to remove part of your skull, but they weren't able to get the entire bullet out, right?
No, it's still 9mm hollow point is actually still right behind my right eye. And they say it's a fragment, but it's actually the whole thing. What when they say fragment, what fragmented was my actual skull fragmented. That's what they were picking out of my brain was my skull, not the actual bolt. The bolt never moved, and it's lodged right here in my frontal lobe. And I mean, I should still be in a coma, I should be bedridden on a ventilator with severe cognitive deficits, and the doctors are perplexed by that.
I want to play some of the sound from your doctor, Dr. Victor Williams. Aaron Moriarty asked him about your chances of survival after the shooting.
So all the odds kind of were against him when he arrived at the hospital.
It would appear so.
But he managed to survive.
It's a blessing and a miracle that he did.
They don't have an explanation, right, Chris?
No, they don't. No, they
What's
don't.
your explanation?
Well, I call it divine intervention, and two of my worst traits before I was shot, stubbornness and impatience, are not my best attributes. And then I'll never forget the day I woke up from the coma, I met Dr. Williams. He came in and he said, Chris, I know your family. I know your sister. My sister's a neurotelemetry nurse, and she actually worked for him on the floor that I was at. And he said, but I hate to tell you, I'm not going to BS you. You're never going to walk again. And I sat there, started tearing up, and just had a lump in my throat and felt like someone punched me in my gut. And I sat there and I thought about it for a second, and I looked at him. I said, Victor, you just told the wrong person he can't do something because I'm going to do it out of spite to prove you wrong.
And now you're walking again.
Yes. I'll be with the cane. I can walk without one now, but I kind of look like a zombie, but we'll get back there. I am. I'm determined to, and I have to. As I told Paul before, hey, life gives us lemon and limes. You've got to dig down deep for that tequila and that sugar water, make poor man's margaritas, and just suck it up, pull your bootstraps up, work your tail off, and you can accomplish anything, overcome anything, exceed at anything, and be unstoppable too.
Yeah. And I know we were talking about what you do and don't remember about that night and what happened when you were asked then about Leslie. Do you remember what you said?
Well, when I woke up from my coma, I mean, I look up, I'm like, I have tubes on me, oxygen. I look on the wall and it says the Paul Hospital, St. Louis, Missouri. And I'm like, wait, what the? And I started yelling and screaming. The nurses came rushing in. Chris, calm down, calm down. I'm like, what am I doing here? What happened? And the one nurse says, Leslie's ex-boyfriend shot you. And I said, who the F is a Leslie? I don't know Leslie because I didn't know. I didn't know her. I really didn't.
I want to go back to, what perhaps allowed you to get through this in the best possible way, not just, of course, the incredible acts of your friends, the medics who transported you to the hospital. They knew they didn't have the time to spare. But then also, the fact that your family, your sister, as you said, worked with the doctor, was there along your side. I know your family had to help pull you through as well. Can you talk about them?
My sister saw some fight in me, and I started in the ICU. When I started coming out of the coma, they tried to medically and put me in a coma, medically induced coma, which they did succeed to do that. But she saw life in me. I mean, I was saying this craziest things. I wanted my truck keys in my jacket, and I thought I was going to walk out of there. Now, if it's on my YouTube, but you can barely understand what I'm saying. But I mean, it's like a comedian was born. I wanted vitamin D, red cap, whole milk. I swore it was under my bed, and rum chata. I've never drank rum chata in my entire life. Why? The only thing I could think of was maybe that night it was on the bar or something like that. I mean, our brains are so mysterious. They don't know enough about them. They really need to do more brain research.
I know you call it your ICU comedy special because the way you were reacting when you came out of that coma.
Yes, it was crazy. But I mean, I didn't fully become conscious until they transferred me to St. Louis, January 12th.
I've seen, and I know, I've seen glimpses of that sense of humor. And I know that you actually have a funny nickname that you went by with Paul on a text, right? What did you call yourself?
Bullet Boy.
Hey, it's me, Bullet Boy. At that point, I had talked to him like once on the phone, and I'm conditioned to treat victims very seriously, and I know he was shot in the head, and I want to give him due respect and all that, and I wasn't going to joke around with him, but he was joking around on his own.
Yeah, I mean, my sense of humor has been one of the best healing mechanisms I've had, and I've never lost that.
That's a good thing because I think it's a survival and a coping mechanism that everybody needs when they go through such horrific trauma and tragedy. Going back to when you were able to get out of the hospital, though, Chris, that was February of 2022. So I know you had to move in with your mom and your stepdad because you really couldn't take care of yourself the way you wanted to, and that you lost your home at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it sucked, but it is what it is. I had to do what I had to do. And, luckily enough that my mom's cool still. She'll be 70 in July, so we're like only 17 years apart, but 17 and a half. Got to add that half on there. So, I'm very fortunate, and I love my stepdad to death, so, I mean, I'm very lucky.
Paul, I know you've met them as well.
Yeah, he has a great family. I've met his mother, his stepfather, and his sister. And, his sister is very intelligent, and she's a nurse and beautiful person. And the stepfather is very friendly and has two big dogs that run around the house. And that's one reason, by the way, that Tiki is no longer living with Chris. Tiki, the dog that helped protect his life. Tiki is with a neighbor.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, Chris. I mean, do you feel that Tiki might have helped save your life that night?
Definitely. They don't understand how I lived. There's so much blood I lost, but she was laying right there, cuddled up next to me the whole time. So she's a great dog.
And I think there was some evidence as well. Was it on your chest that she perhaps had tried to get on you?
Yeah, her little paw marks are right there. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's just.
We didn't. I guess no one knew what that was at the beginning, and then he figured it out, or his family figured it out.
She was just trying to wake her daddy up.
By the way, I don't know if we ever mentioned it, but he was there for about 12 hours laying on the kitchen floor before anyone found him.
Yes.
In April of 2024, though, we know that that's when Bobby Tarr's trial happened. Were you there?
No, I did not go.
His family was there, and they told him every day what was happening. And another reason Chris didn't go, he could tell you himself, is that he said his anger would not let him go. He was afraid of what he might do if he was in the courtroom. You could tell them yourself, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I said I'd take him out one hand, one arm. I mean, it's like what he did is the most cowardly act anybody can do.
But we should say that you were there for the sentencing and you got a chance to give an impact statement.
Yes, I did.
And how did it feel to be in the same courtroom with Bobby Tarr?
I mean, the guy's a piece of dirt. I mean, he's a sorry excuse for a human being.
You talked about the fact that Tarr killed you without killing you. What did you mean by that?
He took my life from me. He affected so many other people. My family, my little girl, my son. I mean, my friends. I mean, they've had to suffer with me through my recovery.
We cannot forget the victim here as well, Leslie Reeves, and what her family has had to go through and endure as well. Just horrific, the tragedy.
I mean, it makes you grateful for everything you have,
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are the living testament of that now. Chris, though, when Bobby Tarr was found guilty on 4 counts, including first-degree murder and attempted murder, what was your reaction to the verdict?
I was happy, but I wish they had the death penalty in Illinois. But I mean, he won't get out till he's 140 years old, and he's not going to live that long.
Right. Sentenced to 85 years in prison. What was truly shocking, though, is even after Bobby Tarr is convicted, he's in prison. Then you come to find out that there was a solicitation of murder on you.
The story goes, according to prosecutors and his defense attorney, that Bobby Tarr had solicited an inmate to go to the hospital room where Chris was recovering and shoot him. We are told by prosecutors that some money did change hands. So Tarr was indicted, but the charges were ultimately dropped for various reasons. The biggest reason being that Tarr is in jail or prison for 85 years, and it seems to be no point in having another trial and maybe another sentence. 85 years is a lifetime sentence for Tarr.
Correct. Yes.
You still have some recovery ahead of you, right?
Yes, I do. Yes. I have been doing, it's called mesenchymal stem cell transplants, MSCs. They harvest stem cells from either my pelvic bone, right and left side now, but and then they shoot them up into your nose up to the vessel supplying your brain. So I mean, it's not FDA approved yet, but it should be here shortly because it has restored a lot of my function to my left-hand side. I'm not running yet, but Paul knows it will be someday, hopefully sooner than later.
Physically, I've seen changes. When he first started, by the way, Chris is still the lead singer in his rock and roll band. That's true.
Yeah.
And he used to play guitar. He can't play guitar anymore. But when I first saw him performing, he always had a great voice. He's a good singer, but his left arm would shake like crazy, like this. And he would joke that he should put a tambourine in it and try to keep beat so it wouldn't look so odd when he was singing because it would just never stop moving. Now, of course, it's pretty steady. And I've seen recent video of him performing and he looks better than ever. His arm doesn't shake. He's standing more. Occasionally he would sit in his wheelchair and sing, but the last clip I saw, he was standing the whole time and arm was steady.
Well, it's great to see you singing again and still performing with your band. I hear, though, there is another woman in your life who has really become your angel.
Yes.
You have fallen in love again.
Yeah.
Tell me about her.
Michelle and I met. It'll be 2 years this June, and we've got a house together. And I'm starting over again.
You're engaged to be married now?
Yes, we are.
When are you going to get married?
We're looking at this fall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, amazing. What led you to write the book?
Well, as I told Paul, I had no intention of writing a book. Everybody from day one was like, you've got to write a book, you got to write a book, you got to write a book. Well, throughout my recovery, people have been reaching out to me, from all over the world, through Facebook, through other social media outlets and whatnot. And I was like, you know what? I can do it. I could do it. I basically wrote it like I was sitting down having a conversation with somebody, like I'm talking to you right now. You know, just telling my story, all the intimate details that 48 Hours couldn't cover, you know, in the first run. And that's what I've done. I was like, I put my thumb to my iPhone because I can't type. I hate saying the word can't. I'm unable to type. So I literally wrote my whole book on my iPhone 14, all typing with my thumb. And just my messages to inspire people, motivate people, and show everybody, no matter how bleak things look in life, there's always a silver lining. You can always dig yourself out of the hole. You can accomplish and achieve anything that you want as long as you put your mind to it and work your tail off.
For those who are struggling in their lives, do you have some advice you'll share? What's your perspective that you tell them?
Life is too precious to ever give up on anything. We don't know how many grains we have left in our hourglass. Don't ever give up on anything. Love your family, love your kids, love your friends, because you don't know when the last grain will fall. But just live life to the fullest. Have fun, laugh. Don't take things too serious. I mean, I'm not the wisest person in the world, but I have learned a lot of wisdom throughout this whole situation.
Chris, you are truly one of the most remarkable people I've spoken with. So, well done on all that you've done to not only thrive and survive, but you are out there spreading your message and giving inspiration to so many. So we thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much.
And Paul, thank you also for joining us.
Of course.
And thanks to you all for listening and watching. And you can find and follow It Could Have Been Me in the 48 Hours podcast feed. It is on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you liked this episode, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.